What's going on? What's going on? We back for another one. Hey, let's get some talk about Oscar Delahoya. Mr. Oscar Delahoya, Mr. I had the blueprint to beat Floyd Mayweather. I have the blueprint. You know, and he also has a special the what do you call it? The spatulas as well. But that to the side. He came out and he said that when it came to, like, they were talking about Deontay Wilder, they're talking about like Gervonta Tank Davis and Earl Spence and some of the other guys on the PBC. And basically he's saying that, you know, he built those guys, that, you know, they're where they are because of him, supposedly, you know. He was talking about how they were, quote, losing money, and he doesn't know how much longer they're going to be able to sustain what they're doing because they, quote, losing so much money, you know. And we all know that when it comes to all these things, they're not true. But what I want to, you know, I'm sure there's going to be other videos that talk about all of that, you know, where Wilder was when they were there, things of that nature. But I'm not going to necessarily talk about all of that in this video. What I want to do is talk about Oscar De La Hoya, and I want to talk about Golden Boy. You know, like when it comes to the finances, you know, you're speaking about these other people, supposedly they're losing money. Yet, you know, somehow Fox still was willing to spend almost $400 million vested in them. And then I think actually extended their deal because things are going so good. Showtime continuously pays them 60+ million in their deals. So they got all this money that's continuously invested in their fighters. And no one's complaining about finances. No one's saying that my money is low. None of that stuff, right? So, okay, but so let's look at Oscar De La Hoya. Let's look at what he's doing on his side. You know, the biggest thing is that Canelo Alvarez is supposed to get paid $30-something+ million a year. The zone said that we're not going to do that. We need you to take a pay cut. And they cut that down to $15 million a fight they were trying to do. So it's kind of weird that you talk about somebody else, you know, having financial issues where, you know, your star fighter all of a sudden had to do, you know, a 50% cut in what he usually gets. And then things got so bad, he took you guys to court and you lost him, you know, and you ended up losing him. So that's the other part, you know. Supposedly you're so big in building fighters. Well, if that's the case, then why did you lose Canelo Alvarez? If you're so good at what you do, you should have been able to keep someone like that. You know, you should have been able to keep that man, but you weren't able to keep that man. Let's put Canelo Alvarez to the side for a second like that. If supposedly you're so good at what you do, why did you lose Diaz? Diaz ended up signing to MTK Global. They're pretty much running his stuff. Why did he make that move? You know, and he just got a belt too. He just became a champion. Why did he make that move? If supposedly you're so good and you're so great at doing what you do, why did that happen? Ryan Garcia, who was refused to do a fight. He's refused to do multiple fights because he's saying that they're not paying him anything close to what he's worth. You know, you got your fighter, Ryan Garcia, getting paid $200,000 a fight. But you're talking about other people's finances and what they're doing. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And if supposedly you built these guys and you supposedly got them to where they are right now, you know, which are very well known, you know, they're people consistently doing pay-per-views. They got different people doing pay-per-views, different people that fill up gates on a regular basis. Even the, you know, mid-tier fighters, some of them, they do fights in their hometowns and they're doing numbers. So that's what they're doing over there. So if you supposedly built them and you made them what they are, and you, quote, I guess you could say you have the blueprint in order, you know, of doing that, what's going on with your fighters? Why isn't Ryan Garcia, before everything happened in the world, why wasn't Ryan Garcia selling out anything? Why wasn't he putting, you know, major butts in the seat? You know, why isn't Texera, who's your 154-pound champion, why isn't he more well known? Why aren't people talking about him and he's a champion? You know, why wasn't he doing any big gates? Ortiz Jr. Why is it that every time he fights, he's always talking about those fighters over there? Why is it that he's not doing those gates? Why isn't it that when it comes to him, people aren't talking about him on a regular basis, on a consistent basis? We hear about the fights that Ugas does, even when he's not fighting the top tier dudes. We hear about the fights that Lipinets is doing. We hear about even their fights. Why aren't we doing the same when it comes to Ortiz Jr.? Supposedly you're saying you know how to build people. You know how to build them and take them to the next level. Why aren't these guys on the same plane as these other people over there on PBC? You know, and Ryan Garcia is someone that's well known. He's someone that's done very well as far as promoting himself and putting himself onto a certain plateau. So since he's already done most of the work for you, why aren't you able to take that, capitalize on it, and push him into a whole different level? Why are you having issues when it pertains to that? Why is it that when you had a fight, a Golden Boy fight was going on, why is it that Ryan Garcia, instead of going to that Golden Boy fight, he chose to go watch a PBC fight in Gervonta Tank Davis instead? A Golden Boy fight happening that same night, but he chose to go watch that instead. Why is it? Why is that? Why is it that Golden Boy still has fights that are still sometimes put on not on pay-per-view, on Facebook and on YouTube? Why are you still having that issue? You know, why is it that you can't get the same type of deals that they got? Since supposedly you have the blueprint and you're so good at doing what you do. They're so horrible at doing what they do. Yet you have these networks now. They're losing lots of money. Cool with that. But if that's the case, then why is it that they're able to get these lucrative deals, hundreds of millions of dollars, and you're not? Why is that? You know, these are the questions I think that, you know, people need to be asking. You know, these are the questions that Oscar Delahoya needs to be asking himself. You know, and he was speaking about, oh, the future and they're doing good now, but they don't have anything built for the future. They have a 200-man roster. They have guys that are peaking, that are older, that are on their way out. They got guys that are younger. People forget Benavidez is young. He's in his early 20s. Gervonta Tank Davis, early 20s. You know, then you got the B-Hops and even the Ennises that work along with them. The, you know, Russell Jr.'s, our brothers that are coming up, Spencer and other people that are coming up. They did a type of organization that just locks and reloads. And you're so worried about their future. What about your present? You're so focused on their future. What about your present? What's up with Golden Boy's present? You no longer have Canelo Alvarez. The biggest probably star in boxing is gone from your stable. And to make it worse, he's connected to Ryan Garcia. So the reality is, Ryan Garcia is probably only a couple of fights away from being gone as well from your organization. Because he's going to follow in Canelo's footsteps. So what's up with your present? That's number one. And then what's up with your future? What does Golden Boy have? That other organization, we literally can name the mid-tier fighters and we know who they are. People know who Reg Calf is. People know who Ugas is. People know who Lipinets is. Javier Fortuna just fought. People know who Fortuna is. These aren't even the top guys. These are just the mid-level guys or the guys that kind of can make some noise. People know who those guys are. You know, you could probably name, what, 4 or 5 people that are on Golden Boy right now. They have a few good fighters that people don't know who they are. But you have the blueprint and you have the ability to push these guys and supposedly bring them to this, you know, different plane. You have that blueprint to do that. You know, supposedly you did that over there, but for whatever reason, they're still able to bring in new guys and still do the same thing they were doing before. But you, the person who's supposed to be the creator of this, the architect of this, are not able to reproduce what you, quote, supposedly did. Not only are you not able to reproduce it, you're actually losing assets. You're actually losing, you lost the biggest asset in the sport probably you lost it. So I think when it comes to Oscar Delahoya, when it comes to Golden Boy, has also been doing major cuts when it comes to their organization. Yes, we know that about that too. Had to, furlough a lot of people, let a lot of people go in their organization, who now also doesn't have the biggest star in boxing anymore. They need to stop worrying about other people, and they need to focus on themselves. They need to focus on building their own brand, building up their fighters. Because forget about the future. You might not make it through the present if you don't start handling your business. But for now, I'm out. Like, subscribe, share. See you on the next one.